Deep learning is often called a black box. We train these massive models using trial and error, and while they work brilliantly, we don't truly understand why. But that's starting to change. In this paper, a group of researchers from Berkeley, Harvard, and Imbuwe argue that a scientific theory of deep learning is finally emerging. They call it learning mechanics. It's a fundamental mathematical framework that aims to predict the behavior of neural networks from first principles, just like physics predicts the motion of planets. The authors envision a split in the field similar to the natural sciences. If mechanistic interpretability, which identifies specific circuits and features, is the biology of deep learning, then learning mechanics is its physics. It shouldn't just be qualitative. It must be quantitative, predictive, and comprehensive. The goal is to move from the era of alchemy to a rigorous engineering discipline where we can predict model performance and design systems without expensive trial and error. The first line of evidence comes from analytically solvable settings. Just as physics uses the harmonic oscillator to build intuition, we use deep linear networks. These models are simple enough to solve exactly, but they still show key deep learning behaviors, like the greedy low-rank bias, where models learn the most important signals in the data before they start fitting the noise. We also have neural tangent kernels, which allow us to predict how a model will generalize based purely on its architecture. Second, we look at insightful limits. Complex systems often get simpler as they get larger. When neural networks become infinitely wide, their training dynamics settle into predictable regimes. We've identified two main ones: the lazy regime, where weights move very little, and the rich regime, where models actually learn features and specialize. The authors propose the discretization hypothesis, the idea that our practical finite networks are just noisy approximations of these clean, infinite-size mathematical processes. Third, we have simple empirical laws that capture macroscopic statistics. Neural scaling laws are the most famous example. They show that model loss decays according to a precise power law as you increase compute, data, or parameters. We also see the edge of stability phenomenon, where gradient descent naturally pushes the sharpness of the loss landscape to a specific value determined by the learning rate. These laws prove that even in chaotic systems, there's a deep underlying order waiting to be explained. Fourth, we're finally starting to understand our hyperparameters. Instead of arbitrary knobs, things like learning rate and batch size follow systematic scaling rules. The maximal update parameterization, or μP, is a breakthrough that allows for zero-shot hyperparameter transfer. You can tune your model on a tiny, cheap version, and those exact same settings will work optimally on a massive, production-scale model. This is only possible because we understand the mechanics of how these variables interact. The final piece of evidence is universality. Different models, trained on different data with different architectures, often converge to the same solutions. This is the Platonic Representation hypothesis, the idea that neural networks are all discovering the same fundamental structures in our data. Whether it's Zipf's law in text or power laws in images, the structure of the world forces models into specific motifs. If the solutions are universal, the theory describing them should be simple. So why does this matter? Scientifically, it might teach us about the principles of intelligence itself, both artificial and biological. Practically, it will make AI development faster, cheaper, and more reliable. But most importantly, it's about safety. We are building increasingly powerful systems that we cannot clearly describe. Regulation and oversight require a formal language. Learning mechanics provides the technical foundation we need to ensure these models remain under our control. Finally, the authors call for a symbiosis between mechanics and interpretability. We need both. Mechanics provides the mathematical proof for why things like sparsity and linearity occur, while interpretability provides the empirical circuits that the theory needs to explain. Together, they can answer the biggest question in the field: how and why do specific mechanisms like induction heads actually form during the training process. The era of alchemy is ending. We are witnessing the birth of a new physics, a mechanics of learning that turns the black box of AI into a transparent, predictable science. If you're interested in joining this project, the researchers have hosted introductory materials and open questions at learningmechanics.pub. Deep learning is no longer just something we do. It's something we are finally starting to understand.